Matt. There's a bit of a lag before I go and hit start streaming. So I've been in a hit start streaming right now, and I'll be on the screen in just a moment. So it tells me that your event is starting. So I'm assuming that we're live. Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to this live unboxing. We have the E-Flite V900 sat here in front of us. To my right hand side, I do have the iPad, which I need to get myself logged in as, so that I can see your chat as we're going along live. Now, give you a quick heads up, this is being recorded live, so we're going to leave all screw-ups in. Happy days. We've got a live chat going down the right hand side of your screen. Of course, if you're joining us here live, do feel free to join in and have a chit chat in the background. You will see the chat box on the right hand side of the screen. If you don't see the chat box on the right hand side of the screen, press in the bottom, it's a little layer in the bottom right hand corner. If you're using, say, an iPad, for example, click on that and then it will pop up. And of course, if you're watching the recorded version, happy days, comments down underneath this video. Brilliant. Right, howdy everybody who's on live. Gary, thank you for letting me know about the audio. That's really appreciated. So, I tell you what, let's not hang about. But there is one thing which I want to cover right at the very beginning. Is that I'm sure many of you have heard me say this a million times before, or at least 1,000 times before. This model was bought out of my own money for my own abuses. This was not a freebie for review. I bought it because, well, they advertise it as being doing 120 full knacker. Yeah, of course it perked my attention. It's probably perking your attention as well. I ordered this yesterday from Wheel Spin Models. Now, there is one little curiosity as it comes to the V900, is that there's a V900 Basic, which is the model which I've got here. And I don't know why they call it the Basic, because it does include the Spectrum receiver with the AS3X or the safe technology included in it as well. And it bumps the price up from, say, 130 quid or so to 170, 180 quid, just because of this receiver, which is in there. Now, I can't find just the normal plug-and-play kits, the ones without that receiver, anywhere as of yet. And I've been looking for the last couple of weeks. So this is I've gone for the basic set, which is a bit of a lie because it's not basic. It includes this like posh receiver. And my cunning plan is, I've already put a message up in the Facebook group, is to go on and sell that receiver because I don't use Spectrum, and I'm sure somebody who does use Spectrum will really like that receiver. For me, completely pointless because I'm an FR Sky bloke. So kind of makes sense, I hope. Let me go and get myself signed back into your chat over on the right hand side. Now, give you a quick heads up on a slightly different topic. I am using the main camera at 1080p. So I'm doing this out of curiosity because in the previous live streams is what I've been done was I was actually running the camera at 720p, although scaled up to 1080p. So it's going to be curious to see what the actual quality is like in the final product. So yeah, literally turned up earlier today, next day delivery. I can't even remember if I paid for next day delivery. I paid for next day delivery. I can't remember if I paid extra for that. We've got the invoice in there. Happy days. And brilliant. Right. Jack Nichols says the import duties must have been steep on that. No import duties. Wheel Spin Models are a UK company. Just want to stress there are plenty of other model companies around in the UK, and I'm sure around Europe and the United States as well, which have got this model for sale. But just be aware, don't get caught out like I did. There is two versions. There's the one which says basic on it, and that's the more expensive one because of that little receiver, which is great if you want that. Or, to be honest, more for me, I was looking for just the basic kit because I didn't really want stabilisation in there. We're just going to give it, well, full knacker and hope for the best, you know? Right, so I'm just having a quick look around the box. Really nice, well packed, nicely packed. One observation is that this box is about a quarter of the size of what the EF Extra turned up in. So I don't know those who remember the EF Extra. If I remember correctly, it was a bloody great big box. It was humongous. And this thing is quite tame in comparison. So this is, I think, my first Horizon Hobby product which I've ever purchased. I think I'm correct in saying that, and I think I've got this up the wrong way around. Yes, I have. And anyway, today we are going to be taking a look at it. Chances are I might be sneaking off to go and give it its maiden tomorrow as well. Now, this is obviously going to be a little bit loud on the old microphone because the microphone's over there on the desk, and I'm here as you can see, fighting with this to get it out of the box. Right, let's get that over there. Hopefully you can see down in your bottom left hand corner a quick like zoom in section. Yeah, there we go, just over here, and you'll be able to see what we've got in the box as well. Now ooh, that is nice. What have they got in there? They got a replacement spinner. They have been included, we'll get into the goodies all straight away. They have been included an aluminium spinner, which is really quite nice. In fact, one of the nicest things, just like, again, I'm using the EF Extra as a reference here. One of the things which I really liked about the EF Extra was the metal nose cone. It really does help it root it in the ground, in the mud, very effectively, as I found out twice before. So, hey-ho, that's a nice little touch in there. It says, please note, regarding the use of your V900, in order to the a 4S LiPo, you need to remove the spinner cone of the plastic spinner and does not match our quality standards. In order to operate, and again, I'm sure you can see that on the chat just down there in the corner, in order to operate in a V900 with the 4S and the spinner remote, whereas we ask that you replace the spinner and we sent in addition. There we go. Brilliant, if you haven't received your aluminium spinner. So that's a nice little touch. And, oh, really nice, high quality instructions. I hope that's coming out of the, yeah, it looks like it is coming out of the camera really well. Just checking over there on the other screen. Really nice, straightforward. Even tells you to get the propeller on the right way around. Matty has definitely not put the propeller on the wrong way around on a model before. I'm sure you've never done that either. It comes with some instructions. I'm sure somebody might read them. So we'll just, oh, it's got the bind plug in there. We'll file those over there. Need to get in there. So first impressions, well packed. Nice to see that they had, by the time the model had gone to production or to distribution, that they had included any additional parts which might need to be needed, mentioning no name Sidewinder. So that is very much a curiosity. Now some of you are going to be a little bit shocked because the V900, I'm pretty sure stands for 900 millimeters, so it's about a 1 meter wingspan, which we've got for the wing. And let's go and take this open. It's a nice heat sealed bag. We'll take a look. I'm very curious on this because it is being touted as a 100 miles an hour plus model. Our last experience with the 100 miles an hour plus model was not particularly great. As some of you may or may not know, the wing started to flap and it wanted to destroy itself in mid-flight. I don't see that as being an issue with this model at all, mainly because we've seen it flying at crazy speeds already, and it's unlikely to happen. Judging probably by the, can you see that up in that camera, as you'll see on the top? That looks like a great big square carbon tube, or I'm not too sure if it's carbon, it might just be glass fibre. It's kind of hard to tell because they've been, no, it looks like carbon fibre which they've got on the end. That'll be a square tube which they've got a main spar going across the wing. Another line there which is for the servos, which got the wings. Nice to see they've got the servo covers as well. Really nice and aerodynamic. As far as putting together, I'm only expecting 2 screws and a receiver. That's all I'm expecting to kind of, and obviously set up the receiver accordingly. That's as far as what I'm expecting to do as far as setup on this model. Also looking closely along the leading edge of the wing, so you'll see there's a main wing spar there. Also along the leading edge up here and going across this side as well, 2 round tubes, so they could be glass fibre or carbon fibre. I'm really not sure, so sure on that. Looking at that, so try and move the servos. Shouldn't really do that. Try the other side. They're metal geared servos. I can hear by the noise which they're making. Quite distinctive. One big thing which I noticed when I was watching, and by the way, I've done my best to keep away from watching anybody else's video on this one. And the reason for that, because I don't like it to bias me in any way, but the one video which they had on the Horizon Hobby site is that they did have that finger grip up underneath the wings, and they did use that as a point to get it launched, and every time the bloke went to launch it was just a little chuck and off she went. So yeah, first impressions, that is definitely EPO foam. It's extremely dense EPO foam, so it will only slightly compress if I really squeeze it down with my fingers. And no, I won't be smashing this one on the desk because I'm sure many of you have seen me do that before with EPP models, but this is EPO foam, so not as tough, but that stuff is definitely way more rigid as well. Little tail fin which we've got in here. Again, looking great. It's all pre-painted. Now that I'm looking at this, there was a question which we were discussing beforehand, and I did see someone putting glass fibre cloth on their model in the Facebook group yesterday, is that what I will be doing, because we have black underneath the fin at the rear, and then up. Hello Poppet, I'm live at the moment. Can you go on out? Thank you, don't make sad faces at me. Coming back to my topic, they've put black paint underneath the wings. Now, that is super fantastic. Big thumbs up from Matty here. And the reason why it's big thumbs up, it's going to make the orientation between the top of the model and the bottom of the model miles easier, especially if we're dealing with a really fast model. However, the negative side to that is that we fly in a field of literally poo. The farmer has been back out at the normal flying site. We've not only got the stalks from the main crop which has been there, which the farmer's been out, cut all down, taken the straw bells away, but this is just going to get ripped to pieces. We don't fly from a nice site where you have all nice mown grass and stuff. No, we're in the middle of a farmer's field, you know. So this bottom of this wing is going to get absolutely mullered. So I will definitely be laminating the bottom of this wing. Now, quick note there, if you've never laminated a model before, don't panic, it is really straightforward. I've done a series on that, look on my YouTube channel, and we actually we go through all the basics, and we also laminate them fly and wing together as well. Really straightforward to do, and also inexpensive. It gives many benefits other than keeping the model nice. It also makes the model itself stiffer. So I am going to pause for a moment, one for a sip of coffee, and two, just to make sure I've not missed any of your questions. So just going to get ourselves logged in. Excuse the slurpings. Let's have a quick look. Sky Pilot says there's a plug and play without RX Horizon now, from Horizon now. I've been looking for it. That's the one I've been waiting for. I kind of got fed up, and I was thinking we're getting here later and later into the week. Matt's been a busy boy with other projects, so frankly thought screw it, so went on and bought one. And then I'll just sell the receiver, because as the person who goes on and owns it will see, it's literally going to come out of this box. I'm going to go, there it is. It should work. It's brand new. It's as new as it's ever going to be for that one. So Gary says, yeah, that would make a nice flying wing. It probably would, actually. I really need to get the fuselage out and take a look at that. I have been preoccupied with the other parts. Another nice little thing to see is that here, I'll put this up on the top camera, this is the underside of the tail fin, and you'll see that not only is there a support tube going through there, there's also a support tube going through the actual surface itself. That has raised the question, do we have those same kind of, yes, we have a similar approach, which is that we have a spar going through the elevator, or through the aileron surfaces as well, which is nice to see. It's not a cheap model. We are kind of expecting to see things which we would be expecting to see, such as reinforced surfaces, just like that. Because again, if you've got a model doing over 120 in a straight line, again, don't forget, they're saying 120, but you can easily push 140, because it's very easy to go up and go for the sky, turn it back round and ram it at the ground, and by the time you pull out at the bottom, you could be 140 easily on the way down with gravity in your favour. So yeah, you want quality components, you want quality servos, you want a quality receiver. I've already been in earmarked a D4R2 receiver for mine, and yeah, you need the faith that a model's going to do what you tell it to do in the sky, especially something which goes this fast, which is not going to be a slow model by any stretch of the imagination. Morning View says it looks like he can go 1,000 miles per hour, and again, that's one of the curiosities, you know, is that as a general rule of thumb, if a model looks like it's fast, it probably is going to be fast. So always keep that in the back of your minds. If you see something and it's really thin winged and it really looks like it's going to do some full knackered speed, chances are it probably is. Now, what am I missing here? I am kind of wondering, have I missed a little pot with some screws in? Yes, I may have. And have I missed anything else down here? Oh, one other biggie. Check the bottom of the box. We're fine this time, but I've been caught out before. You may have as well. And they've hidden stuff in the bottom of the box. That's no fun. Taking a quick look at the fuselage, it is super sick. So if you look above, okay, I'll put the propeller on askew. If you look above at that camera, okay, now just watch how it just compresses down. If you think of, say, like a barracuda fish, for example, that is, yeah, you can imagine like the photograph to go with that. It's so slimline. Can you see on that there? It really does look the business. It's the same density of foam which they use in here. There is a crack or something in there. No, that's just where the piece of plywood is in there. That's the bit which I'm looking at just there. It's where it's just obviously in the mould it's a bit thin. Some of the stickers just coming off just there. So I'm gonna quickly clean that up with a knife. Let's open up the fuselage and take a look. It is definitely, by a country mile, very nose heavy. The biggest telltale, again, I had a quick nose on the Horizon Hobby site today, is that they were mounting the battery right back here, like right here in the model. So the battery is here, then going forwards. And that always tells you that they've got a great big chunk of copper right up in the nose. Now, what does it say in here? It's a BL15 brushless outrunner motor. It's got EFL 2060-15, which means absolutely nothing to me. I would guess that is around a standard 35-36 can, which we've got on there, and it's rated at 1,260 kV. And that is a heck of a lot of pitch on that propeller. I don't know. That's one thing which I didn't. I had a quick nose, but I couldn't see the details on. I don't know, and we didn't actually get a spare propeller in the box, which is a bit of a downer, especially £180 model. You would expect there's a spare propeller, but I haven't seen one in there. So that is a thumbs down from Matty at least. Anyway, coming back to my point, that is an awful lot. You'll see that up there on that top camera in the insert. Is that is an awful lot of grab on that propeller. That's all like, that's 6, it could be 6, could even be more, 7-inch worth of grab on there on what looks like maybe an 8x7, 8x8 propeller. That is an awful lot of angle on that propeller. I'm sure somebody will be looking on the Horizon Hobby site and going, yes, Matt, that is a XYZ, or no, Matt, that is a whatever instead. Anyway, looking inside the fuselage itself, we've got a humongous, great big ESC. That is it's only, I say only, a 60 amp ESC with a 3 amp BEC. That is a curious. That is a little bit less than perhaps what I was expecting. That said, I think that's probably no difference to, say, the EF Extra. Again, the EF Extra has a very similar motor to a degree as well. We do have the Spectrum. It says AR636A receiver. It's the sport receiver, and now it's got 6 channels by the looks of it. And it's been glued in there. So whoever goes on and buys that receiver off me, again, it'll be in the Facebook group. That's what it looks like. All I'm going to do is just wiggle it a bit till the the glue comes loose underneath. And they have in fact, let me just put that back how it was, so you can see. That is very much a curiosity. Again, we're dealing with a model which does a ton. And can you see that antenna just in there? It's folded back on itself. So rather than the antenna being pointed out straight, they took the time, effort and energy to glue the antenna in the side, but what they didn't do, which is so odd, they didn't unflick the antenna so it goes out straight. Very peculiar, to say the least. And there's an antenna which is running underneath and going somewhere which I just don't know. Yeah, it looks like it's been glued down up underneath. Yeah, quite odd on that. Anyway, 60 amp ESC, 3 amp BEC should be more than enough for this one. It has come with a really annoying blue, what's that, the EC3 connector. I will be chopping that off and putting an XT60 on top of that, because I don't know anybody who uses those. I'm an XT60 kind of guy. Everybody I fly with is either an XT60 or maybe a little bit hardcore and just using bullets. So yeah, very much a curiosity. We do have a plywood, nice to see in here. We've got a reinforced fuselage, so there's a big selling point which they make on it, say it's a reinforced fuselage. What they've been and done is run carbon fibre along the top edges into the rear of the actual fuselage of the model itself, and it looks like there's another carbon spar which is running all the way along the sides, both sides of the model itself, and also there is a plywood base which is in there, which looks like 3, maybe 4 mil plywood, which they've been used as a floor. So that is going to add loads and loads of rigidity to this model. Again, if we're talking a model which is doing a ton plus, you need rigidity in your life. Looking down the tail, nice surfaces on there. The rudder surface is not the biggest surface ever. It will be curious to see if we can get a knife edge out of it or not. We'll soon find out. And as far as servos in there, we've got a pair of A370 metal geared digital servos. So my hunch, or by the noise which the wings made, I suspect we got exactly the same in there in the wings as well. And they have been clipped back, and yeah, look fine to me, in short. So I tell you what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop the aileron servos, pause in there for a moment. I will pause in the mode, get back to your chat in a sec, and I will also pause and take a slurp of coffee as well, and we'll just get that up inside of there, and then we'll take a look at this model as a whole. I tell you what, why don't we get some screws in up underneath there as well. They have been included 2 spare clevises as well. I'm not entirely sure if they're including 2, what kind of fun are they kind of expecting you to have? Goodness knows what. I'm going to pop that in the nose. I'm going to put that one down there. So this is as hard as the build goes. It's just that was probably about it. I'm going to see if I've got a screwdriver down here somewhere. Yeah, it's not a flathead. It's a flathead, not a Phillips, but it'll do for right now. And pretty much that's the build. All we got to do is stick the tail in. It should be pretty straightforward. And away we go. Like I said, I am going to pause for A, to catch up with your chats, and B, so that I can have a slip of coffee as well. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. This is the reason why I'm doing this live version, is to catch my own personal reactions as I'm opening the box, to see what I'm getting, aka what could you be getting if you spent that kind of money on this type of model. My personal impression so far is that it is pretty much everything which I expected. It does have a receiver which I'm never going to use, and I've obviously overpaid just because it's got that receiver in it, and I can't get the other version of the kit. Well, as of yesterday, I couldn't get the other version of the kit. I like it, just straightforward build requirements. Oh, that's where the other screw goes. I've just realised on there, because that goes up for the tail. Build time is what? I'm having a chit chat with you, a sip of coffee and a coffee coaster. And it wasn't 2 screws, I lied, my bad. Misled you. It's actually 3 screws. Life's hard, isn't it? But on a serious note, I will be sticking some laminate on this, so I'm just going to poke that in the tail for now. Getting there, and I really should have taken the time to find a Phillips screwdriver, because using a flathead in the back of here, it's going to take forever. Anyway, while I'm doing that, let's have a quick look. Yes, Rick Quebec RC, Horizon Hobby says it's an 8x8 prop. I did say that was a big prop they got stuck on there, and that's massive. I'm going to stick that to one side. In fact, I'm going to pop that back in the bag so I don't lose it. It's not, I don't require it right now. I'll turn that one back round. So yeah, 8x8, that is a heck of a propeller to go on the front end of a model. That's, like I said, it's an awful lot of grab on there, and it's no wonder that model, well, this one is touted to do 100 miles an hour plus, with a great big can motor on the front, 60 amp ESC, and an 8x8 inch propeller. That's nuts. Anyway, sorry, let's get back to your chat. So thank you, Rick, by the way, for that one. Let's have a quick. Henry says, is there any safe assist or all manual? Henry, I bought this one. So those of you which are just joining me, I'm Matt, by the way. Howdy. This is the Horizon Hobby V900. This is the basic version, which for some strange reason, it comes with the receiver which is inside, which does have safe on it, and it does have stabilization as well.
It is the A3X, and the model number is AR636A, which is in there, which is for Spectrum. I'm not going to be using that for mine. I don't use Spectrum. I'm a FR Sky lad, and it works really, really well for me. So I'll be taking that one out, and that receiver will then be going off to a new home somewhere or another. So yeah, unfortunately they didn't have just the plain plug and play kit available as of yesterday. So I went for this version with the full intention of going on and selling that to someone else, because as the person who goes on and buys it will have seen, it's turned up, it's been glued to the bottom. I'm going to obviously gently prise it back off, and it's brand new, never been used before, because heck, I don't use Spectrum, so it's not even going to get powered on, you know. So anyway, good question on that one, by the way, Henry. How rigid is the wing? That is a great question. That question came in from, I missed it, it's in the list there somewhere, Melanie on there. So apologies, I just mullered your name. The wing is pretty rigid in there. I'm not using excessive force. There is some flex in there. You can see me bouncing it around. It is what it is. It's not floppy. It doesn't look like it's going to flap. We don't want another Fluttergate, do we? Right. Moving on to the next one. Andrew B. Howdy, Andrew, by the way. Big thumbs up to Andrew. He was the chap who designed this and cut out this fan for me for my birthday a couple of weeks ago. Thank you, sir. So I will do a little separate quick video on that one, and a little homage to Andrew B at some point in the future. But right now, got a ton of work to be doing, and I've got models to be flown, you know. Right. Anyway, looks faster than the EF Extra. Yeah, I've got the EF Extra down there. And yes, that is a very fast model. This one, like I said, with its swooped in tail section, it does. I'm looking down there at the EF Extra, and it does the same on that one as well, but it's just slightly shorter by the looks of it. Yeah, it does look faster, just the way which it cruises in at the back. So I like the EF Extra. Many of you know that I'm a massive fan of that one. I hope, I tell you what, put it this way, right? If this one gets anywhere near because the EF Extra is for me one of the top 3 or 4 models of all time, which I've personally flown. I think it's an absolute corking model. It's one of those rare models and I know I'm going slightly off topic, but it needs to be said. For me, the EF Extra, which is about 125 quid, something like that, off Hobby King, for me is one of the top models of all time, because it's just so fast and it flies so damn well, to say the least. And it's one of those rare models that it's down there. It's one of it's the only model which I've ever changed the bearings in the motor before. And it's the only model which, if I completely wrote it off, and I've tried doing that twice now, is that I would instantly go out and buy another one without any reservations. So the bar for this V900 is set very, very high, because if we take out the receiver and the extra price which it applied to the ticket price, it is, for all intents and purposes, a like-for-like comparison between models, with this one being potentially much faster. So we'll hold off final judgment until we get it out and get it flying, because as many of you know, we always hold our final judgment on a model until we get it in the sky, because we've had models which have been very quick to build and have been absolute dog poo to fly, and then we've had other models here which have been absolutely annoying to build, and then the second we've thrown it, it's just turned into the biggest kitten, and it's been the most beautiful thing to fly ever. So horses for courses. That's why we hold off final reviews until we actually get it out to the flight line, which will be either tomorrow, Friday or Saturday, depending upon the weather conditions here. So, good point there, Andrew, by the way. Mark says, looks like a good plane to puff some batteries in. Totally brilliant point there, Mark. I have been and got a selection of batteries out, including a very optimistic one, which we have to try in every single model we get here. It is the gauge of awesomeness or not, as the case may be. Can we fit a multi-star 5200 4S pack in the model or not? And you think I'm kidding. Is that I will try and stick that battery in pretty much every single model, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 of those batteries at least here, and they're just great all-round batteries. So we will be trying that one out in a moment. Prop damage, I've just been and seen your comment on there, which he says, and apologies, I'm reading that off from there, looks good enough, good enough ESC cooling. So one thing which I have not looked at, and actually I'm pleasantly surprised, is what you will see, hopefully you can see up here in the nose, is there's two massive great big air vents in the nose. So some of that great big 8 by 8 inch propeller, it's just brutal, absolutely brutal. Propeller will be pushing some air down. There's a knacker duct on the top. Let's turn it back around. There's nothing on the bottom, which is great. My only annoyance with the EF Extra is that they did put an air scoop on the bottom of the model. So I'm forever picking poo out of it. And unfortunately, that is a very serious point, is that with the EF Extra, because of that hole which they've got on the bottom of the fuselage, the farmer, within the last week and a half, has been and sprayed the fields with poo, okay, silage, which has gone, well, you know what I mean, it's gone onto the fields, and it's not a pretty smell, it's not a pretty sight, and some of the models did come home rather stinky, to say the least. So that is good to see they've not got on there. But there is two decent sized holes on the top, one knacker duct on the top, and if I can turn this around, I don't know how well this is going to come out on the camera for you, but what I can see from in the nose is that there is clear airflow, clear massive hole in the nose for airflow to come through. So I'm just going to put this up round, and I need to put it round this way, so apologies. No, that's not going to come out in there, but you'd have to take my word for it. There's quite a hefty hole down the top of the motor at least to get air through, and down the sides as well, to get air in through to keep the ESC cool. Now the other thing which we need to be careful of is, have they been and done this? Apologies. Yes, we have two small air vents either side of the fuselage, and we do have holes in the rear of the model to vent the air. It's fine having, you could have a massive great big hole in the nose, but if you've got nowhere for that air to escape out the back, then it's almost futile. Which I would actually say Horizon Hobby have made a mistake. If you look, if you think, so we got the front of the model here, and the air comes through. If you look in those holes, can you see up there? Those holes are offset. So what they've been and done, I reckon they've made a mistake, which is that they've limited, especially when you look in there, they have actually limited the amount of air which can escape from the tail of this model. Maybe unwittingly they've been and done that. So that is very much a curiosity. So there is an odyssey on that model, which is that really we should be seeing air holes all the way going. That is basically an empty air hole space in there, and we're not seeing that. We've got two air holes, but they're offset, so it's almost, it's like Go Fast and Stripes, isn't it? They've only done half a job on that one, so thumbs down on that one. So, but unfortunate from that side point of view. There is no FPV pod which comes with this model, so it definitely is a all the way line of sight model. That said, if you sat a run cam FPV camera on the nose, which I just so happened to have picked one off the side a few moments ago, before we went live, loose the lens on it, you can tell how much abuse that one had, is that if we sat that up on the nose over there, the orange, with the orange rest of the model being orange as well, the run cam orange at least, would fit in there very, very well. Not entirely sure what kind of view you would get, especially because you're going to see, if I put that up on the top camera, is that all you're going to see is a lot of nose when you're flying it, which isn't, to be honest, those of you which are more experienced pilots, and let's face it, if you're seriously considering FPV in this, then you're not your normal run-of-the-mill pilot. You've flown fast stuff before, so having a bit of propeller in the nose and landing and things like that isn't going to be a problem for you at all. And yeah, it's just a piece of EPO foam, so you could doctor that up or adapt it to fit an FPV camera in there. It would be really nice to see what this model does actually fly like on board, and then looking up there inside of the lid, there is room in there to get a camera up here on the top, and also to fit in an FPV transmitter in there as well. That would be really easy to do. As far as battery goes, this is a little bit awkward because A, we have that receiver in the way, and B, I haven't read out where the CG is, and C, you don't get any room at all in the lid. So the one positive thing which you can say for the EF Extra is that you can put a wide range of batteries in there. In fact, somebody asked before we went live, Matt, can you fit a 2200 graphene pack in there? So those of you which don't know about the graphene packs, they tend to be obscenely fatter, so I'll choose a lower C battery. They are obscenely fatter than what I'd class as a normal 4S battery, and I don't think they're great value for money. But anyway, we'll stick them in and see if we can fit it in there, and see if it's going to fit in there easily or not, the case may be. So let's go and get this around and see if it fits or not. I'll pull that one up. So annoyingly, that strap is stuck in there. So whereas maybe you would have been able to get a little bit of extra battery into this fuse. In fact, I'm going to unplug these wires because, like I said, I'm not going to be using it anyway. Is that you have lost some of your battery width capacity because of the, if I show you again, let me show you on the top camera, is because of the strap which you've got. This, you can't move this, well, easily by the looks of it at the moment, and it would be better if that was on the top, out of the way. Now, I may be able to do that if I unscrewed it and fettled with it a little bit to get it out, but that is a curiosity, so I'm going to try and ram this in here. Chances are it will fit. Yeah, so you're not going to be able to fit a 2200 milliamp 4S graphene pack in there, and the reason why you're not going to be able to do that is because it will fit inside of the model, but you cannot go down in the model at all because you've got that plywood base in there, and you would then be left with having to cut out and doctor some of the lid. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you guys out there are going to end up, it's no biggie to do that, craft knife and to go and do it, so just be aware, if you were intending to run 2200 4Ss in there, it's not going to be straightforward. It's the same. That has been a ruled out runner. It's a 5200 4S in there. Like I said, it will fit in there, but completely pointless because you'd end up carving out pretty much the entirety of the lid. Bringing it back a bit, the battery which I was personally hoping to run in there was the Zippy 2200 60C battery. Those have been really good for me so far. Not completely killed any of them yet, which is quite surprising to be honest. So that was the one which I was personally intending to be using in here. Yes, I can see that I am going to have to trim out some of the bottom of this lid to get that kind of size battery in there, which is a bit of a shame, but hey, that's the way it is. It's not as, so using the EF Extra as a reference, not as flexible as far as batteries goes because those fit inside the EF Extra really easily. The 2200 graphene pack will fit in there like a glove. You ram that up the nose of the EF Extra, not a problem at all. Having a look at the 1.8 graphene pack, again, that would be fine, although I would say that you'd still be carving out a bit at the bottom of the canopy to make that fit. One oddity which I did, little wild card which I did pick up, which is the it's a 4000. Oh, have I picked up the LIV? Yeah, I've picked up the wrong one. I've got another one of these which is a 4000 multi-star pack, but it's only 3S, and the reason why I picked that up is because, believe it or not, we don't always rag the nuts off our models, and if we can run it with a 4000 milliampere 3S pack and go a little bit careful, revenant with the old throttle, is that we could be getting, and you could be getting, a real decent amount of flight time. So I don't know what the exact flight times are going to be. I'm going to say just a couple of minutes with 4S with just full throttle mental action. Nothing you can do about that. It's a really fast model. It's going to absolutely scream the amps out of the batteries themselves. However, if you did fancy flying a little bit more steady on the old sticks and go for a little bit more flight time, is that you could potentially, that battery's no bigger than the 2200 graphene pack, and that one's almost twice the capacity on it. So if you went a little bit steadier with that, you could, for all intents and purposes, double your flight time. So that's why I picked that one out. It was a bit of a wild card. That is a 4000 multi-star 10C pack, which I've put in there. And the last one is a zippy 2200 25C battery pack. Again, they've done quite well. Those are starting to show signs of abuse, which is to be expected. They're only 25C. I've given many of them a hot supper, but they could, like for like, I think for three of those, I could buy 2 of those. So if I puff a couple over a period of time, I'm not going to cry, you know. So they have done really well, and that's going to fit perfectly fine in there. So that was the Zippy 2200 25C, and that's the Zippy Compact. Again, really cheap Hobby King batteries, and they do really, really well. Way better than the blue Turnigy ones, which are utter rubbish. Anyway, let's get back to your chat, because I've gone off on a slight little bender thanks to Mark about the battery. So Mark, very, very good question. Ben, thank you, sir, as well. Scrolling down. Let's have a quick look. Can you show the servo attachment on the bottom? Is it protected against landing surfaces? Yes, it is. So I tell you what, the fuselage-ish. We can fit some batteries in there if we adapt them, especially if we adapt the canopy. We probably can, well, I don't know. I've never bought a model from Horizon Hobbies before, so one would hope that you could get spare canopies, although if you were quite reverent with that one, yeah, I'm sure it would be fine. And also, they've had some common sense that when it comes to the canopy, it clicks in at the front, so even if it came loose a little bit with the wind or from strong or harsh maneuvers in the sky, the wind would blow it back down. And as you've heard that noise several times now, the magnet in the back is really strong. Now, somebody was saying about, sorry, I've missed your name in there, about the surfaces. Yes, you do get plastic covers for the control horns up underneath the model. If you look on the bottom, that corner, sorry, the bottom left-hand corner, sorry, it's reversed here. Your left-hand corner is that we do have plastic covers for the servos, which is happy days, and they have been put little bits of little elastic bands over the clevises as well. So that's happy days. That's, yeah, it's nice to see. And also, you may have, if you're asking me that question, you probably missed the start of the video. We do have a square spar running all the way across the wing, literally from tip to tip. We've got the servo wires here in the middle, and there's also extra reinforcement running, which is a tube of some form running along the leading edges. Now, as far as CG goes, I'm not entirely sure. I would guess about here. Another negative, we got to be straight here. There's no mention of CG on this wing. It would have been really nice and not particularly hard in the manufacturing process to put 2 little divots in the bottom of the wing, okay, so that we then know where the CG is. Because if you look at the bottom of that wing, where's the CG? You pick this model up, frankly, you're going to be guessing. And unless I go and check the manual or have a look online, you're also going to be guessing as well. So that is actually a negative, something which I would not be expecting from a premium model. And actually, let's be fair here, let's put a question mark around this, because I'm pretty sure the EF Extra did not have CG markings on it either. But again, let's face it, this wasn't a cheap kit. It's a super fast model. It's not like one of the little lads is going to come along and fly it. It's definitely aimed at a more experienced modeler who will take the time to read the CG, or we would hope that they read the CG. Hey ho. So I hope that helps. Yeah, nice little touch on there. Again, also just wind it back to a previous conversation, those which you'll join in a little bit later. I will be laminating those wings, and the reason why I'll be laminating those wings is because while we have a very stark colour difference between the top of the model and the bottom of the model, I love the black on the bottom and on this fin here. It's going to make it stand out really, really well in the sky, especially when you're spinning it really, really fast or doing stupid, crazy manoeuvres. But if you're not landing on like the most perfect mode lawns ever, and we don't fly, and I certainly don't fly in the most perfect flying site ever, it's literally a farmer's field which has got all the cobble, all the stubs in the ground at the moment. This wing is just going to get ripped to shreds. So I will be laminating the bottom of this wing because it just won't cope, and all this beautiful black paint on the bottom is going to be very ugly within just a flight or two. So yeah, that is the Horizon Hobby V900. Also, a little quick heads up, those of you which have just been enjoying me, keep in the back of your mind, this model was bought out of my own money for my own abuses. That's why we've had a few thumbs up. and we've also had a few thumbs downs as well, which we've gone through here, because there are things which I would have frankly expected to have seen in a model of potentially this caliber. CG marking, not making a schoolboy error as far as the exit air holes go in the back, having more options as far as battery goes in there, and also you've got to do it again. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I'm not that impressed that I've had to go on and buy the basic kit with the really expensive receiver in there for a system which I will never use, just to be able to get hold of the model to go out and give it a damn good thrashing. So that is also a negative for it. But if that wasn't there, it's about 130 quid. That's what I'm seeing it for. Whether you can buy it for 130 quid, because I couldn't find anywhere in the UK which had it in stock, is very much a curiosity. Right, moving on. Diddy4 says, I'm not sure I'd want to see the FPV video from that plane at full speed, even if I was capable of flying it. I'm sure it would be absolutely mental. My only concern, as a quite an experienced FPV pilot, for flying this one, is not the speed, not the ability for it to cover ground extremely quickly. My reservation would only be in the landing of the model. And the reason for that would be gauging the and I'd probably take it to, I am a member of a club here in Bristol, and I would probably take it to that club because they do have a beautifully mown landing strip, and where I can take a big final approach, or take several approaches towards the end, and then I know that when I do land it, I'll be able to bring it in flat, and I won't rip it to shreds. Okay, so that is my only reservation as an experienced FPV pilot. Will be gauging the height, especially when I come into land. That's the only reservation I have. Actually flying it, flying fast models is perfectly fine if you know the flying site where you fly very well, so that you have landmarks and references which you can pick off, so that you know that one of the hedges, for example, might have a kink in it, so as you bank up and come back inverted, you know that the kink is there, so you line yourself up on the top bit of the hedge. You kind of know it. It's the if you're FPV in that, you're more of an experienced pilot, so you'd probably have the same reservation as what I do. I would have. It's just it's the landing of it, just making sure it stays in one piece when you bring it back into land, because it is so bloody fast. So yeah, maybe one or two final approaches just to bring it round to see how it's going to land and how close you get to the ground. After that, it won't be hard. I'm sure, and that's just because the way where you would normally mount the camera. I'd probably mount the camera up here in the lid somewhere, in here, and have the FPV poking out the back. That's just the logical place for it. You could put it up here in the nose, and that probably won't be a concern. But just looking at that, looking at the canopy, yeah, Diddy, FPV in it, actually flying it, piece of piss. It's the landing, which would be my concern. So yeah, great point. But in perspective, landing would be my concern if we were FPV in it. Let's have a quick look. Moving on. Rick says the red one is faster. Totally. This is orange. So it is suffering slightly from Doppler shift when you give it full knacker. It is on the way to being red. If you don't know what I'm talking about, red is the fastest colour. We had a very diplomatic vote about that a while ago. I tell you what, if you're watching the recorded version, I'll put a vote in the top right hand corner, and you could also get to vote whether red is the fastest colour or not. It's completely unbiased. And moving down, James, howdy sir. Chris, brilliant. Chris, who's iForce 2D, you'll see him here in the chat somewhere. I just watched the video of this. It goes like a bat out of hell, even on 3S. Yes, Chris, you've actually raised a point which I actually missed. Thank you for that, sir. Is that they're touting this model to still go 100 miles an hour, even on 3S, with 4S topping about 120 miles an hour, which is absolutely brilliant in my book. Actually, let's just talk about this for a moment, because some of you may have some reservations about a fast model, okay, and maybe wondering to yourself, can I cope with a fast model? Okay, could I cope with a model like this? Now, the answer to that is that when I bought my EF Extra, and when I've bought several other models, I have, for the best part of my journey with RC, have always been out of my comfort zone. When it comes to, I was quite aggressive in the style of models which I started to pick and chose to fly, and as such I had lots and lots of unscheduled landings. That's where we get the saying landings from, because Matt has had many as he's been through this journey so far. And the thing is that if you're a novice pilot, okay, let's be fair here, maybe this is a model which you can aspire to, okay. Give it a couple of months, a little bit more stick time, you're going to be fine, okay? If you're an intermediate pilot, okay, someone who has a decent amount of experience, kind of knows what they're doing on the sticks, doesn't get mixed up when the model comes around, you're not doing ovals all the time, okay, you're gagging for a little bit more speed, okay, I think the answer is yes, okay, and the reason why I'm going to say the answer is yes, you would be able to cope with a fast model like this, is because, number one, you don't have to fly it full knacker all the time. I know, shock horror, Matt saying, don't give it like the fucking nuts off all the time. You don't have to do that all the time, okay? So this model will fly just as well, a little bit slow. Again, I wouldn't fly it too slow, okay? Again, an oddity here is what's it going to be like with its stall characteristics, because we've had some which are very well behaved, and we've had some really nasty models which have done some very horrible things on us. I don't think that's going to be the case with this one. So just if you can cope with a moderately fast model, say 40 miles an hour, just this thing will just cruise all day at 40 miles an hour, then you're going to be fine with this one. And of course, my other big note for you as well is that when I fly at home, it's a bit of an odd one, because I have a very limited space either side. Okay, so imagine you pulling that to your flight line. Imagine you're like a proper flying club, and they've got little stakes out, and they've got the grass out in the front and everything, all nicely mowed and everything. And imagine it's a 100-meter strip, and you're stood in the middle. Okay, so you've got 50 meters that way, and you've got 50 meters that way. In my case, it's probably only 20 meters either side. Okay, but just say 50 meters either side, and you can only fly in that space. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when you go and watch the guys who are doing really, really fast flying models, okay, so Roops stuck a video up a couple of days back, Moody Bird, on YouTube, and he's got this crazy voodoo model, which is just absolute bat poop crazy in the sky. But when you watch what he does and watch what other pilots do with very, very fast models, is all they do, and it looks great, but actually it's very simple on the sticks, is that all they do is that they'll come across the flight line and they'll go up, okay? And they'll use the height, they'll turn it around, do some stuff on the way back down, bring it back down, straighten it back out, and then come back across in front of them, and then go back up into the sky, and then come back down. Now, some of the pilots will mix things up, and they'll come up and do a great big square loop, or may do some other things as well, maybe a circuit or things like that. But when they're doing full knacker, no holes barred, they're basically doing U's like that. And sometimes they may bring in join it at the top and go all the way back round. Nearly not that over. And sometimes they'll just do a static circuit of some form as well. They're not doing anything special. They're just keeping in with the limits what they've got. And that goes back to my comment, which is that imagine you've only got 50 meters either side of you. What do you have? Pretty much, for all intents and purposes, unlimited height, because a model like this is just going to get too small for you to see if you go too high. So just use height as your friend. If you've got limits on either side, just use height. Bring it across, up. Go up. Stall turn it if you want to. Do something fancy at the top. Okay? Spin it a few times on the way down, bring it back down, and then bring it across. So to answer that question, I know some of you may be wondering, is it going to be too fast? Is it going to be beyond my skill set? If you're a moderately experienced pilot, so not complete newbie, okay, you have flown some relatively fast models, and again we're talking line of sight here because this model isn't specifically designed for FPV. Is that I think you're going to be fine, okay? Because the one thing which damages models is the landing part, okay? Is the gravity part. If you can land models consistently well, okay, especially models which have no undercarriage, you're going to be perfectly fine, okay? All you need is somewhere flat to do it. So, as we mentioned, I have somewhere roughly flat to do it. So I'm going to laminate my wings so they make them A, a little bit more stiffer, and B, it's going to keep the black underside of the model much, much cleaner for way, way longer, because otherwise it will just get covered in poo. So, sorry, I've gone on a bit of a tangent there, but I'm not apologising for that, because I think that's a serious question. And that question was, is this a suitable, or how suitable would a model like this be for me? Especially if you're not used to a fast model like this. So just keep in the back of your mind, quickly summarise that. You don't have to fly it fast, and the only point which you have to really genuinely be concerned about is the landing piece. And you know whether you can land a model consistently or not. And the other one is that common sense. Don't take it out on a bloody windy day, you know? Or go into the flying site and you've got a crosswind, which is, I'm going to stick rudder in it to bring it in flat, you know? Take it out on a sensible day. Go out in the morning. Go out in the evening. So a good example of that, there was the Capri. There was a couple of wings which came out recently. There was some fantastic flight footage. But when you look closer at the flight footage, they were either at sunset or they were at dawn. And the reason why they're taking flight footage like that is at dawn or at sunset is because typically there's an awful lot less winds while things are either just cooling up or started to cool down. So yeah, we've gone on about on that one. Rick says, could you fit a fold and prop on it? Absolutely. Am I going to fit a fold and prop on it? Absolutely not. So you could do on that. Henry says, flaperons to brake? Absolutely. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5-channel model. Okay, so Henry, if you wanted to use a 5, 6, 8-channel receiver to separate out the ailerons to maybe put spoiler on, so what Henry's suggesting is to put to lift these the ailerons up a touch to slow the model down, to take out some of the lift so you can actually land the model a little bit easier or knock off some of the speed on it, is that yes, you could absolutely do that. Am I going to do that? No. I'm not. All I'm going to do is that when we take it out for its maiden flight, which like I said, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, maybe Saturday, is that I'll just take a couple of passes, okay? Take it up, first flight, do some stuff, have some fun, but on the way back, I will just bring it in slowly, see how it copes, make sure it's not trying to squat or trying to hunt in the sky, and just slow it down, see how it copes as we slow the model down. It may be the case on the first entrance, on the first way past, is that it looks good and we may go on just and land it straight away. It may just come in right stupidly fast. One of the fun things about the EF Extra is that it just carries the speed. I strongly suspect this model, looking at its profile, just looking at that profile, it looks bloody fast. I think it's going to be a couple of passes kind of model just to get to grips with how it's going to cope, how I'm going to cope as a pilot to land it down in one piece and slowly and in a controlled fashion. So yeah, good question. You could do it if you want it. Am I going to do it? Is the answer is no. Jesse says, can I use 6S? If you could put, if it's your model, you can put whatever you want in there. I don't know if the ESC was rated to that, and obviously you would want to down prop the motor a touch. It doesn't actually say any limits to the ESC, so 60 amps. You'd probably have to change the ESC. So Jesse, good question. Could run it on 6S. Wouldn't trust that ESC to do that, so I would probably suggest you replace it in yours. Henry says 3 or 4S unless you change the electronics. Brilliant, thank you for that, sir. Equinox, happy days, nice for you to join us. Rick says you could chop off Dead Man's arm at 120 miles an hour. Absolutely, that could be quite well possible. And I've just been and noticed the time. We have come up to 7 o'clock, so we have been live here for an hour. So those of you which have been join me as we've been going along here for an hour chat, happy days. I didn't expect us to for an hour. We have covered an awful lot of ground, and it is time for us to wrap up. Let's quickly summarise this. V900. Let's talk about price. It gets a down vote for being expensive because I had to buy the more expensive one, which came with that stabilised receiver in there. It should be available some point in the future for about 130 quid, give or take a few quid, here in the UK. And it will be available in Europe and in the United States because it's Horizon Hobby. So do expect it to be wildly available across the globe. So actually, I'm saying a negative for price, but we need to give it a positive thumbs up for availability. What was required to build this model? 1, 2, 3 screws. I think we can cope with that, so that's definitely a thumbs up. Compared to the EF Extra, it has no poop scoop underneath the nose, so that is going to get another thumbs up from Matty for that. As far as paint scheme, we're going to give it a negative because it's not red. Red is the fastest colour. It's orange, so it's somewhere there near, so we'll put it in the middle. On a serious point though, the colour scheme, very, very bright, and I really do like the colour scheme underneath, the black and white and the orange. That is going to stand out a mile. As far as orientation goes in the sky, I do not feel that that is going to be a single issue at all. Yeah, if you hear me moaning about orientation, I would actually say that's me as a pilot failing, not the model, because it's so bright and it's very, you can see how well it stands out here. It's bloody obvious which way it's up, okay? A negative is the choice of batteries which you have in this model. You are very much limited. You're not going to fit in a 2200 4S graphene pack in there without hefty adaptation of the lid, and you only get one lid in there, and I don't know if you can get spares or not. As further on options, again, my preferred battery was going to be the Zippy 60C 4S compact, because it's 60C, it would be great. That's the battery which I am going to end up putting in here. A tip for you is that I won't be actually using that one for the maiden. I will go for the smaller 25C battery in there. And the reason why I'll be going for the smaller, lighter battery is because there's a slight weight difference between these two, and less gravity or less weight or mass in a model, especially in an unscheduled landing event, is better for the model. More chances it's going to survive with less damage. So to begin with, I'll fly it with that one, then we'll upgrade to that one. So I will be doing a little bit of carving out so I can fit the 60C battery in there. So yeah, a bit 50-50 on the old battery score. I do feel that they could have done better and planned, or at least tried other manufacturers' batteries, because the Horizon Hobby will sell you batteries as well, and it did come with that gay EC3 connector, which I really don't like, so I got to chop that off and solder it to an XT60. So yeah, no provider's perfect. Those aren't in that case. And also remember, those antennas on that receiver were bent round, which I thought receiver antennas need to be out straight so they can pick up as much of the signal as possible, which in both of those were bent. So actually I'm going to say a negative on that side, because common sense says the antenna needs to be out straight. I'm sure somebody will correct me on that one, but from what I remember from antenna theory, it needs to be out level so that you get because that's quarter wave, isn't it? So that you get the maximum amount of induced voltage or current in the doodah. Anyway, moving on. It will be a surprise if we can actually. No, I think we're going to be fine for knife edge in this one. We'll see. I will crank it down on the bottom setting so we have maximum rudder. I'll also do my best to make sure the rudder go in the right direction, because I complained for months I couldn't get the EF Extra to knife edge, and then Matt found out he had his rudder in the wrong direction. Let's say no more of that one. Oops daisy, it is what it is. At least I'm willing to admit that one. Anyway, and we did have the aluminium nose cone as well, so happy days. One other thing is that there was no CG marks on the bottom of the wing, so you have to read the manual whether you like it or not. And it didn't come with a spare propeller. So that is a bit annoying, especially considering it's an odd propeller. It's an 8x8 propeller we got on there with what looks like a 35-36 cam motor, which was 1260 kV as well. Brilliant. Right, it is time for me to wrap up. If you have any questions about the V900 and you're watching the recorded version, please just ask in the comments section underneath this video. Also in the description section underneath this video, I'll put a link to the Facebook group. There are literally 1,200 cool pilots like me and you in the Rag the Nuts Off Facebook group. And of course there's going to be other owners of the V900 as well, who can pass on their opinions of this model too. And of course, third time saying this, remember this model was bought out of my own money for my own abuses. That's why I feel that I'm perfectly able to whinge about having to pay a premium for a receiver, which I'm never going to use because they haven't got the kits out available, the normal plug and play kits out there available as of yesterday. That may change sometime in the future. And it was not a freebie for review. Keep that in the back of your mind. So anyway, any questions or comments, either in the comment section underneath this video or nip across to the Facebook group. And on that note, if you've enjoyed this live session, do me a favour, hit the thumbs up or thumbs down if you didn't like the live session. And let's face it, if you got this far through, you probably liked it, well, one would hope. And it's time for me to go. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. The reason why I'm saying press the subscribe button is because literally in 2 days' time, maybe even tomorrow, this one goes out for a maiden flight, and I'll get some onboard footage and I'll get some hat cam footage as well. Hopefully some normal zoomed in footage as well. And we'll see how crazy this 120 miles an hour model is or is not, as the case may be. So on that note, for myself, Matt, thank you very much for taking the time to join me for this live session, and I'll see you again shortly. Cheerios!